This contains the Binize 10.1-inch double-din radio. So let's take a look. So we have a manual. We've got some mounting brackets, a backup camera included, which is great, some harnesses, and the unit itself. So it's a good size already, you know. You can see it's got some touch buttons on the side. Yeah. And it's pretty shallow too, which is nice. Makes it easier to install in some cars. So this is the unit itself. We've got our main connector, some accessory connectors, which we'll take a look at, radio input, GPS antenna input, and there's a cooling fan. Okay, let's take a look at the harnesses. We've got our main harness right here. If you've installed some radios, you may recognize this. And it has all the different inputs and outputs. You got power and all that. And we'll be wiring this up to an adapter harness to go into our car. We've got one of the accessory harnesses. So we've got a bunch of video inputs, microphone input, subwoofer output, aux inputs, all that. So if you have an aftermarket amplifier, this could be useful. You have the amp wake up here, that kind of stuff. We've got another harness here. I believe this is probably for the backup camera. We've got two USB harnesses, so we can run two USB inputs to the head unit, and GPS antenna. So if you want to use the built-in navigation apps or install your own, and a microphone. So you could run this into the windshield or close to your head so you can get nice clear audio when you're making phone calls. Then we have our backup camera, an adhesive and screws, so you can choose your way of mounting it. This has a video output, power input adapter with power and ground, and a video extension. So this would go to the backup camera harness on one end, into the camera on the other. Then there's a signal wire that goes to the head unit as well. So now that we've covered what's included, let's go take out the old head unit in the truck that this is going in, and then we'll get this ready for install. Let's remove this old head unit. At this point I realized it wasn't even really installed properly, but that's okay. So right here I have my adapter harness. This one will be a different style depending on what car you're putting this in. This is going into a 2004 F250, so that's what it looks like. And you can see here we've got the gray, gray and black, white, white and black, green, green and black, and purple, purple and black. These are our four corners, so front left, front right, rear left, rear right. Let me tell you which one's which. Our front left is white, front right is gray, rear left is green, and rear right is purple. They're all labeled here, and they're actually labeled on this harness as well in text on the wires. So essentially what we're doing here is matching these colors to the same colors on the harness. So it's pretty straightforward. What I'm using is, I've got this vice grip wire stripper, so I can just quickly strip the wires. And then our other wires that aren't speakers are orange, red, black, and yellow. And on this side they're battery plus, so constant 12 volt yellow, switch 12 volt in red, illumination for the headlights in orange, and black is ground. Now I'm going to be using butt connectors. You can use crimpers like this, but I like these ratcheting crimpers. They work quite well. I'm going to twist these, slide them in. They'll go in only so far. And then crimp. Then I'll be able to put in the other side here from the other harness. But I'm going to first do all these and then work my way through. When you're joining wires together like this, I recommend starting on the thinner wire just in case there are issues with the connector grabbing the wire. If it falls out and the other side is already secured, you'll need to cut it to use a new butt connector, and that will shorten the wire. This is all wired up. I actually recommend starting with the radio side because the wires are a little thinner, so you want to make sure these grip. Otherwise, you're going to have to cut it off both sides and your wires will get shorter. So start with the harness that came with the radio. Now I'm going to zip tie these so they don't move around much. This is optional, but probably a good idea. There we go, we have our new harness. Looks good. Now if we could take a quick look here, this one's gonna just plug in right here. Here we have our other harness. This one will plug in right here. Yeah, we're definitely using this for the microphone, so that's snapping in. These are all, they'll only fit in one place, so our backup camera harness just to have for the future. We'll go in over here. One USB harness here. Right here. The other one right here. Backup camera harness right here. Actually, while we're here, we could even screw in the GPS harness. And right here we have our brackets. They're going to screw on in here. So there's like two openings there. Here and here. I'm going to screw these on. This will allow us to adjust the height a bit. But I think we're just going to center it. Okay, now we're going to make our connections here. This is going to have to go in there. Got our one of our USB cables here. This is running here by the previous owner. Microphone, our antenna. And I think that is everything in here. So you gotta use the correct bracket for your install. So I'm gonna adjust these brackets up, and that should help a bit. Let's test, see how it does. All right, that works. Let's see if we have a radio. Our menu. All right, well, I gotta adjust the mounting, then we'll be good to go. So I ended up having to modify my mounting brackets, but it should work now. And I've wrapped a couple things in fabric tape so they won't make too much noise in case of vibrations, and we're ready to go. I'm gonna plug this all back in. Make sure all this goes in the right spot. I plan on improving my mounting solution for this F250 because the Metra dash kit I used is designed for regular doubled-in units rather than floating screens.
They build fundamental that bypass.
Alright, so the radio works, that means the speakers work. Okay, let's take a quick tour. Let's go to a quick overview of the apps. We've got some apps included like Chrome, we got music, video player, Bluetooth for phone calls, Bluetooth music, settings, a file manager. Ooh, it's windy. The Play Store, the Maps app, car settings, car info, DSP, which we'll go into, theme, GPS test and fan. All right, there is a fan built into the back, so see, there's probably just some basic settings. That's good. Support and Z-Link. Let's start with our settings page. Pretty standard Android settings because it's running Android natively. And then car settings is more specific to the head unit functions. So radio region, we are in the US, we're going to change that. Got display settings, you can adjust the brightness. Sound settings. And some device info, we got 2 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of storage, which should be plenty. And let's see, let's go to DSP. With a nice graphic EQ. Balance, actually, I'll test that in a little bit. And Z-Link is the one that I'm most interested in. That is going to allow us to do wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Go into settings here, driver position left. We're in a left-hand drive car, or truck, so that'll be good. Bluetooth name, there's the name of the device here, is binize.com right now. I'm going to connect on my phone. There it is. We'll pair it. So it's connecting. Android Auto is loaded. Nice, that looks good. Let's go to the main menu here. Pretty responsive. Let me get a song in here. Sounds good. So you got the volume buttons here, but you can also click and drag, which is very nice. If you need to go back to home, you can hit the home shortcut. Now let's go to DSP. This is a manual. Loudness adds a good amount of bass. Oh, these sound really good in this truck. Subwoofer if you use one. Go back into Z-Link and it brings us right back in here. Now the reason I went through all that with the four corners was just to make sure that all the connections were good on the harness, since this is now the powering the speakers directly, so everything's good. Pop back out of here and head over to theme. Let's see, there's a couple of options. Oh, there's many options. Oh, look at that, that's pretty cool. And the icons change too. Alright, well, it's cool that there's themes. Alright, now let's do a connection to Apple CarPlay. It's the same thing, connect via Bluetooth. And we're in. But there's a way to get back into the main menu. So, cool. You can also connect the unit to the internet via Wi-Fi, which can be useful to download apps. Yeah, and there's even instructions built in. One last thing I want to mention is the factory settings menu, which is where you can find more advanced options and settings, and is also where you can find the option to change the boot logo. The password to get in is 000000.